Is Daybreak on Trust Television. It's a Thursday edition, and what is special is that it's the Daily Trust dialogue, the 21st in the series. This has been happening for 21 years and running, and the topic for this year is none other than the economy. I mean, we have all been impacted, the rich, the poor, the middle class, that is if we still have any left as far as the Nigerian strata is concerned. The middle class, basically, as it stands now, some persons will tell you is completely wiped off. You are either up there or you're down. And that would form the fulcrum of the conversation at the 21st Daily Trust Dialogue this morning. And who else to do justice to this conversation than one person who has been part of the planning and has been part of this dialogue series and will be moderating conversation as well at the event later this morning. And like we did promise this morning, we will do all we can to bring you this conversation live to your living room. I have the honor and privilege, if you like, to welcome to the studio a doctor with specific interest in public policy, the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Daily Trust titles. And I'm talking about no other than Dr. Suleiman.
Thank you,
It's a pleasure to have you join us in the studio again. You used to have the privilege of grilling people. Today. You will be grilled. But nonetheless, it's your forte.
How does it feel to be on the other side, actually?
Yeah, it's a bit, should I say, scared, because I know Sunday and I know you, and I know having the two of you interview
and you also
me
double as a communication scholar, so you train people to do this. I'm sure you are comfortable putting on this regalia.
Absolutely.
It's the 21st Daily Trust Dialogue in the series, and with all the issues happening in Nigeria, you chose to look at the economy, to x-ray the economy, and you are also bringing one of the top guns in the Tinubu's administration.
Yes.
I mean, it was for no, it wasn't a mistake that his office was couched as the coordinating minister of the economy. But give us a sense of why the committee thought it was important to x-ray developments in the economy.
Thank you very much, Sunday, and thank you, audience, for having me with you. First of all, let me give a little background to the Daily Trust dialogue itself. You know, it's an annual event, and I think right now it is probably the most important forum for talking about Nigeria. I'm talking about when serious people gather under one roof, you know, to honestly, objectively, and genuinely dissect and discuss issues that matter to all of us. You know, it has been going on for the past 20 years. This is the 21st edition, as you rightly mentioned, and it has hosted some of the most important sons and daughters of Nigeria and Africa. You know, we have not had Nelson Mandela here, you know, but we have had Thabo Mbeki, former president of South Africa. We have Jerry Rawlings, you know, former president of Ghana. We have had, yes, of blessed memory. We have had former Nigerian presidents and head of state, you know, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former head of state Abdulsalam Abubakar, former General IBB, and so many others. Even former President Jonathan was also here. So it's not an event for just collecting together. It's an important voice on Nigerian affairs. And I will encourage audiences to pay attention to it, you know, today, but also when we replay events in the media, in our newspapers and across our platforms. So to come back to your question, at the planning stage, you know, we were usually following the general template of the event itself, Daily Trust Dialogue, which is to look at what issue is most important, you know, what issue hits at the heart, at the core of the nation right now. You know, that's what a media organization will do. And we thought that, okay, there were about 3 issues which we started, and eventually we all agreed that the main issue right now is the economy. You know, because we have had policies in place right from Eagle Square inauguration ground. President Tinubu started making policy and started implementing them, around the economy. So we wanted to see how far have these policies gone, the economy, the reforms that the president has been trying to make, the removal of subsidy, the palliative mechanisms that follow it, the unification of the Naira exchange market rates, and the consequences that this have had, particularly to the common person. So we wanted to look at the losers and gainers and losers. Who is, benefiting? Who is this working for so far? And who is losing out so far? In other words, an economy is comprised of many different actors, just like a society, You have institutions like banks, financial institutions and so on. You have companies, you have businesses, manufacturing and so on. But you also have the average Nigerian person or the average Nigerian family who are also economic actors because they go to market, they have salaries or they don't have salaries, They buy stuffs and so on. So we wanted to know within this mix of persons, within the Nigerian economy, these reforms, who are they working for? And who are they not yet working for? The essence is not to castigate anybody, but to have a thorough analysis of what has been happening so far so that ideas can help the government to, do what it is doing even better. That's.
If I understand what you're saying, of course, this has really, been speaking to the trend of events. I remember the 19th Daily Trust Dialogue was focused on security, which, of course, for decades at that time we've been facing the problem of insecurity. And then the next one, which was the 20th dialogue, focused on the 2023 election. And that's very, very appropriate because it was the electioneering year and this year economy. Of course, which actually proved that, we're looking at the trends and what's biting hard in the country at the moment. But my question is, how has this impacted development in the nation? Give us a sense on how important this is to the playmakers in the country, in government, and all the stakeholders in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. You see, that's important because in the end, it's all about impact. What we can say, first of all, is that we reached out to the government. You mentioned one of the panelists, that is the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy. We are having him as one of the panelists because they are the ones making the reforms. He is the person, the face of Tinubu,
Nigeria Labour Congress,
as far as the economy issues that you are talking about, development is concerned. So we're having him here to come and tell Nigerians, this is what we think we are doing. This is where we think we are doing well. This is where we think we need to make improvements, and so on, so that Nigerians can hear how government policies will best affect them, and so that they will have information on how they to respond as well. If there are any opportunities for your small business or for your micro business, if you hear it from government, then you can try to avail yourself to those opportunities. But at the same time, we don't want to hear only the government's voice because, like I said, government is only a part of society. There are others outside of government. There are union, citizens, and so on and so forth. So we are having the president of the Nigerian Union Congress, Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Ajero. Thank you. Who represents Nigerian workers, both those who are working for government, but those who are also not working for government, like you and I, who are outside of the government. All of us, that's the majority of Nigerians, So he too is going to have his own comment. He will say from the position of the Labour whether or not they think the government is doing right, and so on. And then we have others who are doing businesses, Dr. Victoria Akai, she is coming to speak on the side of business, she represents the Abuja Chamber of Commerce. So development, I think, is not something that happens, immediately, but it's something that is a process. and that if people understand that process, they are better able to take advantage of the opportunities available. So this program for today is designed to show Nigerians that, okay, if the government is just like we do every day in our newspapers and on this TV and in your radio shows, that, okay, if government is saying that they are doing reforms, what reforms are they doing? In what areas are they reforming? And how are these reforms affecting particularly the ordinary Nigerian person in the streets or in their homes or in their jobs?
At the risk of sounding as a pessimist,
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the ordinary Nigerians. The impression would be we have too many talk shops, and it doesn't feel like policymakers take some of these conversations seriously. They come in with a mindset to defend whatever policy rather than listen to feedback and make amends where necessary. How do you think the Daily Trust conversation over the years have steered in a different directions? Or, as Maria would say, what can we point to, to say these are areas where we think that we have made a very good impression?
Thank you. Thank you for asking Maria's question better. Let me put it that way. You're entirely correct about Nigerians having this feeling that all governments do, and all those of us who monitor government do, is just about talking and talking conversations all the time. Governance is turned into a talk show, but governments don't listen, they don't pay attention, and then things remain the same, things don't change. To a large extent, that's the general picture. But I hold a different view. I would say that we're not even talking enough, actually. And that the reason why government is not listening is precisely because we're not talking enough. Nigerian citizens are not engaging government enough. And a government engaged is a government scrutinized, is a government monitored, and is a government put on a pedestal that will make it to work in the interest of Nigerians. So I have it the other way around, When we Nigerians talk about government, usually we just dismiss the government. We dismiss the people in government. We dismiss the media. We dismiss everybody. We just castigate everybody. Those who do that become instant heroes. We clap for them and so on. And the problem remains, But sometimes it is precisely because we are not engaging government enough that we are having the situations that we are having in the country. I'll give you an example. In the Kaduna bombing that happened last time, you look at the kind of outrage that followed it, the way Nigerians felt serious that, come on, you cannot be repeating this thing each time the country's own military shooting down at its own citizens in the name of mistakes or errors or collateral damage or so on. So that is engagement. That is speaking. People spoke in the media, they spoke in conferences, they spoke even in local tea parlors and so on. This is engagement. This is good. That's how democracy works, and it crystallized into public opinion. And you can see for the first time, the government admitted that they did this. Before, they would just dismiss it because only a few people will cry and nobody cares, But on this occasion, because the response from Nigerians was national, people everywhere in the country, whether they are from Enugu or they are from Kaduna itself or they are from Jalingo, people thought that this is wrong. You cannot keep doing this. We have had enough of these mistakes that kill Nigerians. And you see investigative bodies were set up. That's response, And the military visited the families. They made donations, government, and so on. That was the first time this kind of responses would happen, to the best of my knowledge. Usually it will just happen. The government would not even comment on it, and so on, because we don't engage government enough. So the forum, and also when we engage government, we do so in an angry, dismissive manner. But the platform the Daily Trust Dialogue provides is for serious people, It's for, I don't mean that to say that others are not serious, but, it's for, how do I put it, for decent conversation.
People are interested in making
Yes,
changes.
in making changes, both those who are in government and those who are outside of it, And usually, because we are located in Abuja, or maybe because the government, any government in Nigeria, they know the reputation of Daily Trust as an institution. They know that we voice the concerns of the general public. They tend to listen, in a way.
If I may double down on one of the assertions you made, Doctor, you talked about us not engaging enough. I've listened to some economic players who had made statements like, we seem to have a willing reformer in power, somebody who does listen. We have seen cases where critical reports have forced the president to retract certain statements or decisions that he had made in the public place. If we are not doing enough by your own assertion, then how much would be enough? And that is starting from the Daily Trust. Should we then make this biannual or twice? What kind of strategic conversations do you want to see? And I'm saying this from the point of view of a media responsibility, not just the Daily Trust. We are doing our bits. What do you want to see with other people? How do we double down and reinforce this conversation, as you know, with communications theory, to make the right impact?
Thank you very much. The conversation I would like to see is of a decent kind, So the first thing we need to change is that, particularly those of us in the media, is that dismissive, angry attitude towards just writing off everybody.
Isn't that justifiable?
Right? No, not at all. The public space has rules. One of the rules is respect for everyone. So if you dismiss somebody's opinion or somebody's position just because they are in the government, or because they are in the opposition, or because they are in a party you don't belong to, or because they belong to organizations that you don't support, or merely because you don't know them and you have not taken the effort to find out more about them. If you do that, then who will listen to each other? And how can listening bring about change? So the first thing would be to change the attitude of how we engage in public conversation in the country, which is to say that let us all agree that there are rules. Let's respect individuals, let's respect institutions. The way people will come to the media and be talking, just dismissing, and making inflammatory comments, making wide-ranging allegations that they have no proof of. Let's put that away. I would also say let's begin to use facts more. If you follow the media in other countries, you say they will say 16% of this. We need facts to be able to understand the world. The reason why we need facts is because they are verifiable. You can say that today is Tuesday. It's Thursday, 25th. If I say that now, you can easily look up at calendar or look up at, and verify whether this is true or not. But if I say today is Friday and your calendar tells you differently, and we do a lot of this in the media. We make accusations and assertions that are entirely pointless, and we think we're having conversations, and so on, because our media is free, and so on. So I would say that let's have conversations of the kind we have at the Daily Trust Dialogue, of the kind we have at the Daily Trust opinion pages, of the kind that we have on the Daily Media Trust TV, Trust TV programs, Trust radio programs, and so on. We don't have enough of that. Like you said, we're doing our bit, but we also want other media organizations to follow through. But it's not enough still. Because citizens also, the whole point of democracy is that citizenship is a job in a democracy. If you are a citizen, you have a job. You have the job of following the news. You have to follow the news about what's going on, because what is going on will affect you whether you like it or not, one way or the other. And your concerns are important to whatever is going on. So it's a feedback mechanism. You receive, but you must also be willing to give. Whether you give or you don't give, you will receive. Because when prices are set, they will not set prices for you differently from mine. Right. So if you are going to receive anyhow, it only makes sense for you to give. So you follow the news, you attend community events. You find estates in Nigeria, large estates. I live in one. There's no any kind of forum in which people can come and discuss issues that affect them, let alone that affect the wider community. We need more of these things, you know. We need citizens who are able to bring out their money from their own pocket to support candidates and political parties that they believe will make a change. This is the job that democracy places on citizens. And unless we embrace this in this country, we will keep thinking that government is not doing enough, but it's actually because we too, as citizens, we are not doing enough.
We know that these things are very important, the dialogue, and as a media organization, it's very important to get feedback and also holding people to accountable for their actions and, you know, their deeds and statements that they've made. So over the years, how has Daily Trust been able to keep track of some of these things that have been said in the dialogue and also feedback mechanisms that have been used over the years?
Thank you very much. That's a very useful answer. What I can say in respect to that, I said you have just broke new ground, you know, that you have just made an important suggestion. You can write, for example, a book, you know, on this alone, because you have done it 21 times, or at least you've done it 20 times, and today you are doing the 21st. You've brought all kinds of people. You can document that experience, the conversations that were held, and also get people to see what impact the conversations you had made afterwards. You know, say, for example, after a discussion on security, for example, I remember in the 19th edition when we did on security, which you said, the comments that General Absalam, the former head of state, General Absalam, wrote, you know, I mean, the speech that he made was widely reported across all other media in the country, you know, and it compelled the government, I think, I'm not exactly, but it was around the time that the first Council of State meeting was set up by the then President Buhari, you know, because the Council of State meeting had not been holding for a long time before then. So you can say that this is perhaps an impact. You might also say that Council of State meeting doesn't mean anything, because what does it lead to? But it shows that somebody is responding to criticism, because criticism comes from the highest quarters, but also because it was genuinely stated. It was stated without bias and objectively. So I think there must be ways in which it is making impact. You know, in any case, like I said, in a society, in a democracy, we in Nigeria, we want something now, you know, and so on. Some of these things, they happen more slowly. You know, they happen more indirectly.
Organically,
you know.
yeah.
There's an icing on this time around, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember the African Person of the Year for 2022 wasn't picked. I think it was chaired by the former president of, it's been chaired by the former president of Botswana. And 2022, it wasn't picked. But, you know, there's a turnaround this time around. And that's the icing of the cake of the event, where the African Person of the Year will receive their award. Tell us about the African Person of the Year award, how it all started, and why we have to bring that of 2023 and then put it together with the dialogue.
Thank you very much. I think part in we used to have the events a little bit separated, but on the same, you know, days, at least on the same week, usually a day apart. Maybe the previous night we will have the African of the Year award, and then the following day we would have the Daily Trust dialogue. The African of the Year award is an important award. First of all, it was aimed to distinguish our organization from other organizations that give awards to just about everyone out there. You know, if you are in government, they give you award. Say, oh, Person of the Year. You know, the leadership gave that to.
They learned it from the academia.
You know,
they
from
distributing
really
degree.
Okay, you know, so they give it to whoever they want. If that person has money, they say, okay, you are the best man or the best bank or the best, you know, and so on. And some of these things, it's not that they are wrong. It is that some of them don't have the kind of credibility within the system that you would expect. It's important to give Bank of the Year award. What's wrong with that? It will make banks to want to do the right thing, provided that that award has credibility. It is good for Nigeria to have the Nigerian of the Year award. Any organization is good to give that, you know?
That's right.
But let it have credibility. Let it be that the criteria, the procedure for selecting that person is entirely independent and is based on sound judgment rather than expectations of money through back doors and channels. So that's one area in which the African of the Year was different.
All right.
You know, we wanted to do something that has credibility, and so far that has stood the test of time.
All right. I'm sorry, we would have to anchor at this point. If we go on and on and on with Dr. Suleiman, there will be no end to this program. And he needs to catch up with preparations as the dialogue will commence in no distant time from now. We've been talking with a media specialist, a teacher, a student of governance, of policy, and media. Dr. Suleiman, it's a pleasure to have you join us in the studio this morning.
Sunday. And you are just as everything you said about me, you are as well. I'm Baridi as well. You are one of our best.
All right, we will catch up with you the moment we are done from the studio.
Thank you.
You want to be part of that conversation and take your own, make your own takeaways. As he said, governance, or rather, citizenry is a job. And there's nowhere in the world where docile citizenry has led to any kind of reform. You don't want to be, there is really no place in the fence as far as the Nigerian society is concerned.